Have you ever actually stopped to think about your everyday routines? Like who exactly cleans the office at night? Or who actually delivers your morning mail? The truth is, most of the time, we don't know. And honestly, it doesn't even matter. When we talk about these routine parts of our day, we naturally slip into a specific type of language that completely hides the doer of the action. It's basically the invisible architecture shaping how we communicate every single day.
So welcome to today's explainer. Today, we are decoding the simple present passive voice together. You can kind of think of this as the hidden daily voice. It's really an underlying operating system in our language that lets us talk about the world around us, our daily routines, rules, and facts without ever really needing to know who is pulling the strings behind the scenes.
All right, let's just dive right into this. Here is our structured roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the hidden daily voice. Second, cracking the core formula. Third, flipping active to passive. Fourth, passive voice in daily life. And finally, avoiding common grammar traps.
Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, the hidden daily voice. This is all about focusing on the receiver of the action.
So what is it exactly? Well, the simple present passive voice is used to describe regular actions, facts, general truths, processes, or routines. But here's the absolute most important takeaway. The focus is entirely on what happens to the receiver of the action, rather than who actually performs it. By using this structure, you're intentionally shifting the spotlight. The who fades right into the background, and the what takes center stage. It's literally a tool for making our communication way more efficient. Moving right along to Section 2, cracking the core formula. Let's look under the hood at the mechanics of the passive voice.
And this brilliantly illustrates the flip. In an active sentence, you've got your standard subject plus a present tense verb plus the object. Simple enough. But in the passive formula, that object gets a massive promotion. It moves all the way to the front of the line to become your new subject. Then, we add a form of the be verb, so am, is, or are, and the main verb converts to its past participle form, which we'll call V3. The original doer of the action, well, they get pushed to the very end as a by agent, and honestly, it's completely optional to even include them.
Now, when you're building that formula, choosing the right auxiliary verb, that little be verb, is absolutely critical. And it depends entirely on your newly promoted subject. It's basically a matching game. We use am only with I. We use is with singular pronouns like he, she, and it, with singular nouns, and really importantly, with uncountable nouns like coffee, water, or information. Finally, we use are with plural pronouns like you, we, and they, and with plural nouns. Just match it to whatever word is now sitting at the front of your sentence.
So let's see this engine actually running in a few different modes. Take an affirmative sentence, subject plus am, is, or are, plus V3. For example, the mail is delivered every morning. For a negative sentence, you just slide a not right in there. Trash is not collected on Sundays. Need a yes or no question? The auxiliary verb jumps to the front. Are these reports updated daily? And for a WH question, just tack your question word onto the very beginning. Where is coffee grown in Indonesia? Notice how every single one of these examples reflects daily routines and facts. That's the passive voice doing its job.
Let's jump into Section 3, flipping active to passive. We've got a really simple step-by-step recipe for you here.
Okay, let's start with a singular subject. Picture the active sentence, the mechanic checks the car. Step 1, identify the object. That's the car. Step 2, move that object to the subject position, right up front. Step 3, select your auxiliary verb. Since car is singular, we select is. Step 4, convert the original verb, checks, to its V3 form, which gives us checked. Step 5, add that optional agent at the end, by the mechanic. You put all those puzzle pieces together, and boom, your passive sentence is, the car is checked by the mechanic. It's just a perfectly logical sequence.
Now, what's really interesting here is the plural shift. Watch what happens with a plural example. Active, farmers grow organic vegetables in this field. When we flip this, our object, organic vegetables, moves to the front. But notice the auxiliary verb. Because vegetables is plural, the verb has to change. We can't use the singular is anymore. We absolutely must use the plural are. So the passive sentence becomes, organic vegetables are grown in this field.
Moving to Section 4, passive voice in daily life. Let's talk about spotting this grammar out in the wild. The very first place you'll see this everywhere is with general truths, rules, and facts. Take a super common safety rule, like helmets are required inside the construction site, or you might hear, English is spoken in many countries around the world. Safety signs, official rules, and widespread facts almost always rely on this structure because, let's face it,
The rule itself is what actually matters, not the specific person enforcing it.
It's also super common when describing processes, procedures, or even cooking recipes. Like, first the cocoa beans are harvested, then they are roasted and ground into powder. When you read an instruction manual or look up how your coffee is made, the passive voice is essential. It keeps your attention glued completely to the product, the beans, as they undergo a transformation, instead of distracting you with the hundreds of different farmers or factory workers involved.
And of course, we use it all the time for daily habits or routines where the doer is just unknown or it simply doesn't matter. The office is cleaned every evening at 8 p.m. Think about it. When you walk into your office and see a clean desk, do you really care who cleaned it? Probably not. The focus is entirely on the fact that the routine cleaning happens, like clockwork. The passive voice perfectly captures that daily reality.
All right, wrapping up with Section 5, avoiding common grammar traps. Let's navigate a few of these pitfalls.
So, a huge trap here is your verb form. A very common error is using a V1 or V2 verb instead of the required V3 past participle. If you're trying to describe the action of someone cleaning, saying the house is clean every day is incorrect. You have to say the house is cleaned every day. You must remember to convert that main verb to V3 for the passive voice to actually work.
Here's another major trap, confusing the simple present passive with the present continuous passive. Listen to the difference here. The street is being repaired right now. That implies there are literal jackhammers outside your window at this very second. But contrast that with the street is repaired every month. See, that is a routine. Make sure you just use am, is, or are plus V3 for those simple present habits. Don't accidentally throw an is being in there unless the action is happening right this very instant.
And finally, subject-verb agreement errors, especially with uncountable nouns. Saying, information are stored on the server is a classic trap. Information is an uncountable noun. And if you remember our core formula rules from earlier, uncountable nouns always take a singular auxiliary verb. Therefore, the correct sentence is, information is stored on the server. So always double-check if your newly promoted subject is countable or uncountable.
And that brings us to the end of today's explainer. We've cracked the formula, we've flipped sentences, and we've successfully navigated the traps. The simple present passive voice is no longer invisible to you. You've got the tools to see exactly how it shapes the way we describe our world. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Where will you spot the hidden passive voice in your daily routine today? Seriously, keep your eyes and ears open. It is everywhere once you know what to look for.